Hello and welcome back to another episode of my MotoGP 20 career mode here in our second season of MotoGP. So we're here for the Argentine GP this episode, so we'll advance forward a week to get to that point. So then, we've got no notifications on my front, but what about the Moto3 Junior team? No, there's nothing there either. There's nothing else to do then except head into qualifying 1 then for this Argentine GP. Now, we were pretty competitive last season actually, qualifying quite well up. We got into Q2 without too much issue, and we qualified quite well, and obviously in the race, we've got a podium there. I was actually stuck at the back of the group for quite a while, but then towards the end of the race, I started to get my way through the group pretty easily. It was actually Valentino Rossi and Cal Crutchlow leading the pack for most of that race, if you do remember. But actually, I didn't show off the Riders' Championship before this race. Let's have a look then. So going into this race then, there was massive change in the last episode. Obviously, in the last episode, I did go through all of it. I'm not going to, but basically, the long and short of it is, me and both Repsol Hondas and both factory Yamahas all went down at the first corner. So we all crashed at the first corner at Austin. I managed to recover back to third place. Dovizioso won the race ahead of Rins in second. I was third and Valentino Rossi was fourth. So obviously Pol Espargaro, obviously being knocked off, didn't have a very good result. Jack Miller just was really slow for some reason. I have no idea why. Bagnaia did a pretty good job. Same with Binder. Alex Marquez didn't quite do so well. So really, the three guys I expected to be fighting for the championship with, which are Marquez and the two factory Yamahas, aren't even in the top 10 of the championship. They are wallowing down in the championship, down in 16th position for Vinales, 18th for Quartararo, and 20th for Marquez, because they've got... Well, Marquez still hasn't scored any points yet from the first 2 races of the season. It's very, very poor for him. In the Constructors' Championship, we're still leading it, but only by 4 points now instead of 5. Ducati did make some inroads in us on that previous episode, because Rins actually beat me. So Rins was the top scorer from Austin, so he lost 5 points to Dovizioso. They were 9 points behind, so now they're only 4 points behind us in the championship. And in the Teams Championship, we're leading by 17 points ahead of the Ducati team. The Repsol Honda team have dropped down to 5th, because obviously Pol did have a good result in Qatar, but obviously neither of them scored in Austin, and Marc didn't score in Qatar either. And the factory Yamaha team's down in 10th place, because both their riders have barely scored any points. They have 5 points combined from the first 2 races. But without any further ado then, we'll head into qualifying 1 here, and hopefully we should be able to get through without any difficulties. So then we're here at Termas de Rio Hondo in Argentina for the first qualifying session of the MotoGP class. I could say of the weekend, but obviously it would be the second after, well actually it'd be the third, wouldn't it? Because it'd be Q1 and Q2 of Moto3 and then Q1 of MotoGP. So the people that haven't gone through this time are Morbidelli, Oliveira, Nakagami, Bagnaia, who actually had a really good result last time, Lecuona, who also did pretty well last time, Cal Crutchlow, Aleix Espargaro, Danilo Petrucci, Jorge Martin, Joan Zarco, Tito Rabat and Alex Marquez. I think it seems to be the same sort of people every time, so unfortunately even with the closer pack it seems to be quite scripted who actually goes through into Q2 straight away. But we'll head straight onto the track here at Argentina. I want to try and get another pole position. Obviously so far we've had 2 pole positions, 2 podiums as well. I wanted to make it 2 wins in Austin, but nothing I could really do. I just got taken out at the first corner unfortunately. Obviously the Yamahas had their crash on the inside and collected Marquez, and I thought I got collected in that at the time, but actually looking back on that, at the end of that race, Pol Espargaro just crashed into me as well, completely, so that's how we all ended up on the floor at the first corner. I bet some of the other riders couldn't believe their luck. Obviously Jack Miller really should have been the man to capitalise on that. Third place in the first race was me and Espargaro's nearest competitor, but yeah, he finished really, really poor, so if we were actually all in that race still ahead of him, he probably wouldn't have even scored points. I'm not even sure if he would have got any. But I've been jabbering away about that for basically the entire first sector of this lap. Through turn 3, then sliding it through turn 4, coming up towards the end of this sector. A 10th underneath so far. As we go down the straight towards turn 4. Not sure who's ahead of us. I think it's Alex Marquez ahead of us there, but I'm not too sure. Yes, it is. I thought it looked like an LCR Honda set of leathers from that distance. Coming through the long turn 6 now, one of my favourite corners on this circuit. 6/10 underneath the time now, so it looks like we have got some decent pace here. Almost ran onto the grass there. Got to make sure we don't do that by accident, because that would be pretty bad. Through turn 7, then getting the bike stopped, sliding it through in first gear. Alex actually looks like he might have got away from us a little bit. Although this was the scene of his best result last year, I believe. Apart from obviously the glitch at Malaysia, where I think he got on the podium, didn't he? But his best actual result without glitches was still 6/10 underneath. Came here, 4th place. Obviously he came through right at the end, passing a lot of riders in our big train that we had. Quite a weird race, that one. We haven't had a race like that since, where there's just been a big pack of riders all at the front of the field. There we go, then flicking the bike over through the left hand. We've actually wheelied quite a bit, coming up towards the line then. 35.8, I don't know how much faster that was than what was already there, but we'll keep going, see if I can improve on this next lap. So we're almost a tenth away in the first sector, nearly 2 away in the second, so it's not been quite as fast so far. Nearly 2 tenths underneath now in this sector, so we've found some time. Flicking the bike over through the last corner, then coming up towards the line. 35.5, so 3 tenths, nearly 4 tenths underneath the time there, so we'll head back to the pits and hopefully that will be good enough to get straight through into qualifying 2. So then yes, both times were actually good enough to go through by quite a margin as well. Alex Marquez was actually the rider in second position, so it didn't look like his times were too bad. Bit of a contrast to last time where he struggled quite a bit in Austin qualifying, but obviously he seems to quite like Argentina. He got his best result other than the glitched result, of course, in Sepang, so obviously a track Alex Marquez seems to gel with quite well. Miguel Oliveira unfortunately just missing out there, but he's been doing a lot better on the KTM as of late. Both the Aprilias really struggling in this session, just ahead of Martin and the 2 Avintia Ducatis. So we'll head into qualifying 2 now then, and hopefully we can try and get another pole position in this season. So here we are now then in qualifying 2 with all the front runners of the championship. Although to be honest, some of those Q1 guys, could definitely come and beat some of these Q2 guys. The pace is very, very close, as you can see. Obviously, Oliveira was extremely close to going through, and the KTM boys have definitely made a good step this season. So here we are then, for our first run in Q2. Hopefully it'll be the only run as well, because we've got some decent pace. Because to be honest, a time that's good enough to get you through into Q2 now is good enough to be right near the top anyway. The rear tyre was extremely hot at the end of the second lap in qualifying 1, so I definitely think I need to go for a hard tyre. Can't remember what tyre I picked last year on the KTM. Might have been a hard, and I think it did take a while to definitely scrub in, but I think a hard tyre is going to be the way to go here. So Jack Miller currently ahead of us, so second position so far in this session, so looks like he's a bit more on the pace again this weekend. So we're 6 thousandths underneath in this first sector then. Nearly 4 tenths, 3.5 tenths through this sector. Still 3 tenths underneath in this sector. Through the last corner, then up towards the line. 35.2 into the gravel then, so that is the next lap absolutely gone. But I wanted to finish that one off. Our fastest lap of the weekend so far, obviously faster than what we did in Q1. So I think actually I'm going to head back to the pits and see where that stacks us up in a few minutes' time. So then, yes, it was quick enough by quite a margin, a good half a second ahead of Marc Marquez in second, so he's back on the ball once again, ahead of his teammate Paulus Bagger in third. Jack Miller, like I said, looking a bit more on the pace in fourth place. Fifth place then for Vinales, sixth for Dovizioso, seventh for Alex Rins, actually out-qualifying Fabio Quartararo there, which is quite interesting. Quartararo was really great in qualifying last season. He seems to be struggling quite a bit in this season so far. Jean Mir in 9th place then, Valentino Rossi 10th, obviously after starting on pole here last season. 11th then for Brad Binder and 12th for Alex Marquez, who was a good second off the nearest rider, so that's a little bit weird. It's weird sometimes the time generation, because Alex Marquez did a 35 in the last session and I just done a 37.1. Well, that doesn't just happen out of nowhere, so yeah, I don't know how the game works to try and balance who should be at the top and bottom of the session, but it probably needs some work. It should be based purely on the performance, not of what session they've come from in the first place. So then, time to go have a look at our Moto3 race, see how our riders get on at Argentina. So then, our riders not qualifying quite as well in this race, 21st and 24th respectively. So it seems like maybe Argentina not such a strong track for our bike, maybe, because they're both a bit further down the order. But they were very good in the first 2 races so far in the actual races themselves, so let's see how they get on. Let's start this race and hopefully they can try and come through the pack a little bit. So here we are then, we're actually on the TV camera already. Usually we're not. We're on board with Daisy Jackson. Apparently we're getting ready for the lights. We've got lights and away we go. Bit weird how there's no sound until they actually go. They're all weaving a little bit off the line there, so our rider's actually very close. She's up to 20th already, up to 19th. She's had a fantastic start. Looks like Hernandez is coming up the inside as well. Let's go to the first corner. She's right behind Albert Arenas. She's right behind one of the Honda Team Asia. Around the outside of them she goes. I think Manuel's gone up the inside. Manuel's actually now right behind her, I think, in terms of position. I think she might have lost a couple by going around the outside there. No, he's not. He's actually lost a few going through into this corner now. So Daisy Jackson up into 18th place so far. She goes up to the back of Albert Arenas. She goes round the outside of Arenas up to 17th place, holding on that power and right to the outside of the track. Some of the riders going in the background there. She's ahead of Arenas. She's ahead now of Ayagura, and she's trying to pull ahead of Darren Binder. So she's back up into the point scoring positions in the slipstream of Kylan Ampawi. Obviously he got his first ever win here in Argentina in 2016 in the wet. He's going up the inside. Oh, she's trying to go the inside of McPhee. I think that was Toba and Powie as she pulled that off. She's up into 12th place, but a fantastic start for her. Yes, she has. She's actually got in front of all of those riders. This is amazing. She's now on the back of Stefano Nepper, and she's already sat to the inside of him. On the brakes, is she going to get the inside of Nepper? No, actually, Powie goes back around the outside, so fair play to Powie there. That was a decent move from Khaled and Powie. He's made up quite a few positions on this first lap because she was slipstreaming him. He tried to go for a bit of a move on his teammate and also Kaito Toba, and she's pulled it off with him. So we're still watching Daisy Jackson. You can see in the background Manuel Hernandez. He's a bit outside the points. I think he's probably around where he started, actually. And Daisy's still trying to go around the outside of Khaled and Powie, but she can't quite pull it off here. But she's got a good run as they go down towards the last corner, or penultimate corner, sorry. She's got in front of Powie there. Can she outbrake in there? Powie's got the inside line, round the outside she goes. She's gone a little bit wide, she's gone very wide. I don't know why she's got on the power so early, that's definitely cost her some time. Well, she's still side by side with Powie, but Powie's got the position, so great first lap, she's up to 13th place already. So if we have a look at Manuel Hernandez, then he's trying to get the inside of Fernandez. He's going round the outside of Philip Salach by the look of it, so he's up into 20th position now. Back on board with Daisy just to make sure we don't miss anything. It looks like she's just defending from Toba now, so perhaps her attack of Powie is over and it's more of a defence. She's struggling with the tyres. She's spinning up a lot by the looks of it. Powie's gone terrible through that corner though. She's had contact with Powie. Hopefully she hasn't picked up any damage for that. And here they go on the straight. She's back ahead of him now, so back up into 12th place just purely because he really didn't take a very good run through the sweeping turn 4. Toba's now got past Powie behind as well, but Jackson's looking all over the back of Stefano Nepper. She's in the slipstream a little bit of Rodrigo as well. She's going on the inside of Nepper, and is she going to go around the outside of Rodrigo? Yes, she is, up into 10th place, so she's back into the top 10 like she was in the previous race. It looks like Alonso Lopez is up next ahead of her, and Rodrigo trying to go around the outside at his home Grand Prix. The Argentine, he gets the move done for now. But she's still hanging it in there. She's actually back ahead of him again. But is he going to have the inside into his left hand? You can see actually in the background, Hernandez is making some serious moves. I would like to have a look at that. But obviously, Daisy's going side by side with Rodrigo right now. I want to see how that pans out for her. She's still going side by side with him. It looks like maybe Hernandez made a mistake because it looks like he's maybe lost a couple more positions again. But he's trying to, Daisy's trying to go around the outside of Rodrigo. So much to try and commentate on at the same time. But she's looking on the inside down towards the penultimate turn. Is she going to pull it off? Ooh, not quite. Rodrigo doing a pretty good defensive work there and staying ahead of her. So if we look at Hernandez, and Hernandez is up into 18th. He's still behind Salach actually, but he's moved up a couple of positions on that lap. Jackson still in 11th, looking for a move on the home man, Gabriel Rodrigo. Oh, Hernandez almost hitting the back of Philip Salach there through turn 4. He's got an amazing run. I just wanted to see what he was doing in the background. He's going side by side with Salach, and there he goes up into 17th position. Jackson's still in 11th, so she's not quite close enough to Rodrigo to make a move into turn 6 or anything like that. Lopez looking behind him, and Arbolino's attacking Lopez once again, just ahead of them. So perhaps that'll slow them down. Lopez is on a really strange line, quite wide there. Now he's on the inside of Arbolino. This is where Jackson gained a lot of time on Rodrigo on the previous lap, though. And it looks like she's doing the same thing once again, keeping quite a tight line, keeping the throttle open without sliding that rear tyre. Obviously, she was stressing the tyres a little bit earlier on in this race, but so far on this lap, and I think the previous one really, she's been looking after them a little bit better than on the first lap. It was probably just because they weren't up to temperature yet. I can't tell what tyre she's on, but I think she's probably on a hard tyre judging by the temperature. Otherwise, it'd probably be a bit hotter than that. Hernandez still sat in 18th then, so it looks like Salach has got back ahead of him. So he's struggling a little bit in this race. Actually, is that Salach in front of him? Yes, it is. Salach is trying to make a move on Iagora and on the inside of Powie at the same time. Double dive bomb there by Philip Salach, and he's pulled it off. Fair play to Salach. Will Hernandez be able to pick up any of the pieces as we start the penultimate lap? Yes, he's got past Agora on the outside there. And it looks like Jackson might actually be going for a move on Rodrigo again, so we've got to make sure we keep an eye on that, because also it looks like Arbolino is dropping back towards the pair of them, so we could get another top 10 finish here for Daisy Jackson. Hernandez still battling with Fernandez and Iagora. Up the inside of Iagora he goes again. Can he force Iagora out the way? Ooh, I don't know if he can, but Powie's still right ahead of them as well. Will Powie be able to hold up Agora so he can get through? He's got round the outside of Powie. Not Powie used to be on that team. Agora, sorry. And he's trying to get the slipstream on Powie down this straight. Can he pull anything off into turn 6? Yeah, actually, I don't think he even needs to. Look at him. He's windmilling past him. He's streaming past him. I don't know what windmilling past him means. I don't really know why I've said that. But there you go, up into 16th position. Now, Manuel Hernandez. Here comes Hernandez around the outside of Salac. He's going to have the inside for this left-hander, but he's just a little bit too far behind. It looked like he was a bit closer on the exit. I think he probably slid the rear more, got a bit of a better exit, but lost some momentum as they went down the straight because of it. So Antonelli's already crossed the line. He's miles ahead of everybody there. But Daisy Jackson has got Nepa quite closer. There's some commotion going on behind them, going about 3 wide, and there goes Hernandez around the outside of Fernandez and trying to get side by side with Salac. And actually it wasn't Hernandez, it's Toba. There's just too many people on the same team right near each other. I'm getting it mixed up. Toba's dropped through the order a lot more than I thought. I thought it was still Hernandez he was battling with from before, but actually no. Toba has actually dropped quite a few positions here, but Hernandez is now up into 15th position, up into the points. So both of our riders in the points in this race, but Stefano Nepa all over the back of Daisy Jackson now. Will he be able to do anything and try and get past her? Oh, and he's still going for it in the background. Hang on, have a look at this. He's getting so close to the back of Philip Salac. I'm just trying to watch Jackson to make sure she doesn't lose a position. Well, obviously I can't really do anything about it, but see if she loses a position to Nepa or not, because Nepa looks really fast. But Hernandez is getting really aggressive with Salac. Salac got up the inside of McPhee now, so Salac trying to make a move on John McPhee. It's not quite worked out. Will Hernandez be able to capitalise on that? It looks like he actually has. He's got in front of Salac now. He's hanging it around the outside, but Salac has got the inside, which is really the ideal line through that corner. But if you can hang it around the outside bravely enough, you can do it, and he's done it. Antonelli's crossed the line already. I don't know how Antonelli's already won the race, but, you know, absolutely ridiculous scenes here. McPhee goes defensive into the penultimate turn. Can Hernandez do anything? It looks like Jackson's hung on as well to the positions in front. So Jackson's going to be 11th place, and Hernandez is 14th, so a double point score in this race.
Is starting to fill up with the stars of the race. So let's take a look at a graphic of the official results of the just finished Moto3 race.
So our best result yet, even though they didn't qualify too well. Obviously Daisy Jackson not getting in the top 10 like she did in the previous race, but both of my riders only being a second apart as well, which is really good to see how close they are to each other. And also great to see that they both got in the points, which means we've met the objective for both riders for the first time this season. So let's quickly check where they are in the Riders' Championship now. So Daisy Jackson is still sat in 11th position and Manuel Hernandez in 13th. No movement there because Hernandez goes ahead of Toba, but Rodrigo goes ahead of him as well. In the Teams' Championship then, we actually move up to 6th place. We move ahead of Petronas Sprinter Racing, so it's nice to see that we've moved ahead of them. So maybe we can start setting our sights on the Snipers team, obviously with Salac and Arbolino in that team. But the 658 team is absolutely dominated so far. 24-point lead ahead of the Leopard team, who completely obliterated everybody when I was in Moto3. Leopard just wiped the floor with everybody because of their two riders always getting 2nd and 3rd places in basically every race. SkyBR 46 up to 3rd place. But really our battle probably is with Petronas more than anybody. But it'd be nice to see if we can try and catch up to the Snipers team. But then the next thing to do now is my race in MotoGP. Starting from that pole position once again. Hopefully this time I make it around the first corner. So here we are then on the grid, looking at Marc Marquez in 2nd position, Pol Espargaro in 3rd place. So the Repsol Hondas, very strong at this circuit. The LCR Honda wasn't doing too bad as well with Alex Marquez. Obviously he got through into qualifying too, but didn't really do that well in that session. Danilo Petrucci there in 17th position on his KTM Tech 3 bike. And there we are on pole position then. So I want to try and get this winning streak going once again. Obviously we got the first race win. I suppose it's not really a streak if you only win once, but it would have been another win, obviously, easily, because we caught back up to the leaders after a crash, with damage as well. You've got to remember we had damage the entire race. We were missing a wing, which usually would be horrible, which it actually was. The bike still felt horrible, but we were lapping still so much faster than the leaders, but it's just a shame we couldn't quite catch them right on the last lap. But this time I really do want to make amends, so I'm going to try and get the whole shot into the first corner and see if I can get away, but it'd be nice if there is another pack race like there was here last season.
Everything here is ready to start the race at Termas de Rio Hondo. Riders just have one more thing on their mind now, being the first to cross the finish line.
So here we are then on pole position. I can see both the Faccia Ducatis on the row behind us as well, so I'm going to watch out for them with their rocket start. Same with Marquez alongside us. Lights out and away we go. What's the start like? Yes, Marquez has already got past us there. We're down to 3rd place. I'm guessing Espargaro has as well. As we go down towards the first corner, I've gone in a little bit wide actually. They've all got the inside of me. Rins has tagged me. Rins, no! Oh, Alex Rins has tagged me and he's down. So my teammate has had contact with me. The other teammate's gone ahead of me. We're down into 9th place. Now, I don't know if that was my fault or what happened there. I don't see that Rossi's now punching me out the way. So the AI rider's really not wanting me to be in the lead of this race so far. There's a crash up ahead and Dovizioso's had Mir off. No! Oh, so it's just a disaster so far for Suzuki. One rider drops from pole position The other one crashes into that rider, and now Dovizioso has taken out Jean Mir. Fabio Quartararo is quite lucky he didn't get involved in that. I almost just got cleared out by Franco Morbidelli, who, if you remember, we battled with quite aggressively here last season, but I need to try and get my head down now. Obviously, we've lost a lot of ground off the start. Marc Marquez trying to do a typical runaway race, and I don't want that at all. Alex Marquez right ahead of me there. He's gone a little bit wide through 7. I'm going to try and cut underneath him there on the power. Obviously, my hard tyre still not up to temperature yet, so I'm struggling a little bit for grip. We've got past Alex Marquez, unless he dives back up the inside of us. Rossi trying to go on the outside of Quartararo. I'm sliding it through side by side with Valentino Rossi. We've not quite got past him there, so we've got to sit behind him for now. Oh, Quartararo's gone in wide though, trying to catch up to Miller. That's allowed Rossi to close right up to him. But Rossi couldn't quite get past him there. Have a look down into the penultimate turn. Can I make a move on Valentino? I best not do anything too aggressive on this first lap, but we've still actually got the inside of him. Around the outside, through the last corner, Rossi still hanging it in there, but on the power, side by side with Valentino. Valentino's still ahead. Brad Binder has crashed behind, so it's been a crash fest so far on this first lap once again. So this season of career mode, so many crashes, so much more of a crazy season so far. But we've got past Valentino Rossi finally then, so we're back up into the top 6 now. Here comes Rossi though. Rossi's come straight back underneath me, so I made a bit of a mistake. Rossi's got back ahead, so we're going to have to try and repass Rossi then. Here we go for a move on Valentino on the brakes into turn 6, or turn 5, sorry, I think I kept calling that turn 6 in the Moto3 race as well, but actually it's turn 5. So we've got past Valentino Rossi then. Fabio Quartararo up next. So Quartararo finally having a decent race so far in the top 5. You can see Marc Marquez is already stretching the pack, so we need to try and get to that second position and try and hunt him down. But Quartararo defending beautifully there into that corner. There's nothing I could do about it. I couldn't get up the inside, I couldn't get around the outside. Good defensive move there from Quartararo. Through turn 9 then, flicking the bike over. I'm trying to go around the outside of him again because again he's defending the inside beautifully. He's gone in a little bit wide though. I'm going to get on the power, try and run it up the inside on the power, side by side, but he's just a little bit ahead. But I'm going to be able to have a move into the penultimate turn, almost sitting him up a little bit there. I've gone in a little bit wide. I think I have sat him up there, so I've sent Quartararo wide. So poor Quartararo, he's finally having a good race, and I've kind of put him off his line there. Marquez 36.8, I'm 37.1, so a bit slower than him. So we're looking for a move up the inside of Jack Miller now, but we can't quite pull it off there. Here we go through turn 3, sliding it through turn 3, up the straight, then through 4, side by side with Jack Miller, but obviously he's on the Ducati, so he's got a bit more power than I have. We're in the slipstream of him. Quartararo's still behind us. We actually didn't lose a place to Rossi or anything like that. Miller moves out late there. I think he was looking maybe for a move on Espargaro. So we've had a little bit of minor contact there. Miller's gone in very, very hot. But we've got past him. Can we get past Espargaro on the exit of this corner as well? Espargaro keeps ahead for now. But we'll be back up onto the podium shortly, I'm sure. Through turn 6 then, Espargaro had to get out the throttle. I had to get out the throttle to not hit Espargaro, and we go round the outside of him into 7. That was an easy manoeuvre there, easily outbraking Paul Espargaro. So we're back up onto the podium. Maverick Vinales next, and then it is Marc Marquez ahead of him. So at the end of that lap, 35.8 for me, 36.7 for Marquez. I mean business here today. We've got to try and catch up to the back of Maverick Vinales, who's finally having a decent race in this season. Obviously, so far he's had some pretty abysmal races. Quartararo once again looks like he's struggling, so I do feel very bad there for Quartararo. So through turn 6 we go, then we've caught right up to Maverick Vinales now. I think I can start taking a little bit more easy because Marquez is still perfectly within range and we've got quite a few laps to go. The disaster is averted, I believe. Vinales gone a little bit wide though, trying to get the power down, trying to close up to him. We're not going to be able to make an attack into this next left-hander, unfortunately, but if I can carry the speed through the corner a little bit better than Vinales, the rear slides for me. They're flicking it over through turn 10. We're all over the back of Maverick now. Will he go a bit wide into here? We're up the inside through turn 11. We should be able to get this move done, then edging him out towards the edge of the track. But I didn't want to run him out too much, so he's actually got the position still. But as we go down towards the penultimate corner, up the inside we go. He's left the door open. He's gone in very, very wide because I guess he sensed me on the inside. And ahead of him we go up into second place now then. So Marc Marquez is the next target. 35.9 on that lap then. Not sure what Marquez will have done, but Marc Marquez is now the next rider to pass. He's finally back on form. He's finally looks like he's on for some points. Obviously he's not scored anything so far this season. So really, so far it's not really a rival, but he's only about the same distance behind me. I was behind him with about 2 rounds to go, and I still won the championship last season, so anything could still happen yet. So Marquez's championship is definitely not over. with a long 20 race calendar. Obviously there's no shortened calendar in the game. Through turn 5 then, Marquez has gone wide, and I've actually got on the power side by side with Marc Marquez. He's still got it for now as you go through turn 6. Obviously this is where Pol Espargaro struggled a little bit earlier on the other Repsol Honda and went straight around the outside of him into this section. Around the outside of him we go, trying to replicate the move we did to Pol, but we've not quite pulled it off this time, and Marquez has still got the inside, but I'm still hanging it around the outside on the power. There we go, towards turn 8. I'm going to send it up the inside because I've got the drive up the inside into 8. There we go, he's trying to hang it around the outside still. Marc Marquez keeps the position, so Marquez really, once again, like last season, being my most fierce rival. We've actually lost a bit of time to Vinales behind as well. We've got almost a second ahead of him as we go down towards the penultimate turn then. I was actually going to try and set him up for a bit of a switchback, but he's gone in wide on his own, so that actually was kind of the best defence he could have done. Through the last corner then, Marquez going a little bit wide, 36.4, so my pace has definitely dropped battling with Marc, but there we go, side by side with him, up into the lead here at Argentina. So as we start the final lap then, what's the gap? 2.8 seconds to Marquez, so we've got this one in the bag. So here we go then, flicking over for the last turn. We're going to win our second race of the season, our third podium in a row for Suzuki. So then, quite an interesting set of results at the end of this race then. So I won by 3.7 seconds ahead of Marc Marquez in second. Apparently Vinales was 6.8 seconds behind, so a good 3.1 behind Marquez. But I saw right at the end of the race that Maverick had actually caught right up to Marc, so quite what that's about, I'm not so sure. Pol Espargaro then ending up in 4th. Obviously the Honda's doing really well here because 5th place for Alex Marquez. On the last couple of laps I could just see him on the overtake indicators, overtaking everybody. Fabio Quartararo ends up 6th place, so he finally gets some somewhat decent points on the board, but he'll still be disappointed with that, I'm sure. Obviously being so far behind his teammate. Jack Miller then ends up 7th, so after looking quite promising early on, dropped back through the order, so again not a great result for him then. 8th place then for Valentino Rossi, beating his teammate Morbidelli once again, so he can't be too disheartened with that. And then rounding out the top 10 is Oliveira. So Rins, my teammate, then manages to recover to 13th, so that's good for the team championship that he's got some points on the board. Cal Crutchlow gets a point for the Aprilia team there, so pretty decent result for Cal. And Mir ends up 19th then, and did Dovizioso remount? No, Dovizioso and Zarco are both out of the race. Obviously Binder had a crash as well, so I'm guessing Zarco's crash will have been something to do with Binder. So in the championship now then, it's extremely close. If you have a look at these championship standings, wow, it is so close. 6 points separating 2nd to 6th in the championship, and only another 5 then back to Alex Marquez. But wow, this is a extremely close championship for 2nd place, at least anyway. Obviously not for 1st, because it's a 30-point lead after 3 races. Andrea Dovizioso 2nd in the championship, joint on points with Alex Rins in 3rd. Pol Espargaro moves back up to 4th place then, only 3 points further back behind them. Jack Miller again just staying stationary, equal on points with Valentino Rossi now, Jack Miller. Alex Marquez moves up a couple of positions. Marc Marquez moves up 12. Wow, and Francesco Bagnaia moves down 1. Vinales moves up to 6. Let's see where Quartararo is. Quartararo moves up 4. Quartararo still only got 12 points. He's 54 points back after 3 races, so he's had a pretty poor start to the season. It seems like for whatever reason, the second rider in the factory Yamaha camp just does terribly in the first couple of races, and I don't know why that is. It seems to... because they share no attributes. Rossi and Quartararo in the game, they don't share anything, at least especially with the mod that I've made. It's not like I've just changed Rossi's name to say Quartararo. It actually is Quartararo that's moved, and I've given him a better performance than last year, but he's still doing worse somehow. I don't know how that is, so I think I might need to tweak Quartararo's performance a little bit, but he should be winning the races, is what I've done it, but yeah, he's not been doing too well so far. In the Teams Championship then, we now have a 36-point lead ahead of Mission winner Ducati in 2nd. Repsol Honda moved back up into 3rd place. Petronas Yamaha dropped down to 4th then because of that, and Red Bull KTM dropped down to 5th. Monster Energy Yamaha getting some decent points on the board in that race and moved themselves up into 6th in the championship. Everybody now except LCR Honda Idemitsu has actually scored, so Cal getting a point there for the Aprilia team, of course. And in the Constructors Championship, we now extend our lead to 20 points in the championship because, well, Ducati didn't finish very well, and the Honda, who was 2nd, they'd already been doing quite poor in the previous episodes just because they've been quite unlucky. So I think we should have a look at some of those crashes that happened in the race then, because there were some pretty interesting ones. So first of all then, let's watch just the TV replay of this as we go down towards the first corner then. I got a pretty bad start. I think I braked a bit early, was just sort of coming into the corner, and then Rins just clips me, down Rins goes there. We'll obviously have to see that from off-board to get a better shot of that. On-board is what I meant to say there, by the way, not off-board. So we'll slow it down then. Actually, we'll play it in normal speed so far. So I'm into the corner. Rins just comes out of nowhere, clips the back of me, and down Rins goes. Luckily, I didn't crash as well, because that would have been 2 first corner crashes in a row. I'm almost sure Alex Rins ended up in the same gravel trap last season as well. So we slow it down. I'm just turning in for the corner. Rins is coming in hot. I think he might have sat up a little bit. And there he goes straight into the side of me. Or into the back of me, actually. And down goes Alex Rins. So this is from Rins' point of view then. He's going into the corner. Yeah, and he just really doesn't react to the fact that I'm turning in for the corner. He's just gone for a gap that was always going to close, I guess. Because I am turning very differently to the rest of the AI. But that's just because I went onto a different line into the first corner. So maybe that could be said to be my fault, but I'm the rider ahead, so I can sort of turn in when I like. Because, I mean, look how far ahead of him I was going into the corner, so I shouldn't have to watch out for Rins. I'm just sort of running it around the outside, trying to get a bit of a cutback, maybe up inside a Miller, but yeah, Rins has then just sort of gone into the back of me. So this is on board with Dovizioso, then he flicks it right, and then he just gets tapped by Mir, and that's why they both go down. And also you can see in the background another crash behind as well. So if we slow it down, then he's flicking the bike over, he's got his line, and oh, he's just going to get tapped by Mir, yeah, as Mir turns in. One of those racing incident things, not as blatant as we've seen in the past where perhaps people have turned in on each other. So on board with Mir then here, you can see Dovizioso on the right hand side, Mir's turning in, their lines just kind of meet in the middle, and oh, Mir didn't crash initially, it's just Dovizioso's bike dragged him wide and caused him to then have a high side. So we slow this down then, he's round the outside of Dovizioso, just taps him a little bit, that unsettles Dovizioso's bike, has him off. Then Dovizioso's bike just pushes the rear end of Mir's round and causes him to have a high side. Sort of similar to what happened to Vinales in... Actually, so what happened with Vinales and Marquez in Austin at the first corner. So then the people that crashed in the background, one of them was Nakagami. So through this corner then, he gets clipped by Zarco, and that's why Zarco was out of the race, because he's had this crash with Nakagami. So on board with Zarco then, he just clips Nakagami, and he actually washes the front out after that. So it's a similar crash to the Mir Dovizioso one, but as they go into the corner then, they're on quite different lines. Nakagami's drifting a little bit wide, which again he's entitled to do. Zarco turns in on him, obviously that bike then lifts him up into the air, and down he goes as well as he loses the front, so that's how they all crashed. This is Brad Binder then, so Oliveira on the outside line, please don't tell me they're going to collide. As we go into this corner then, Brad Binder goes in a bit wide, and oh, he does a Rossi from Jerez. Oh, wow, he just got on the grass and high-sided. I don't think he collected anybody, luckily. I think a couple of people might have clipped him, but they didn't crash. So as they go through the last corner, then he gets onto the AstroTurf. He gets onto the green, actually. So he gets onto the green, carries on going, gets onto the actual grass then. And the rear just comes around, and that's him down. So a really weird mistake there from Brad Binder. So then this weekend we gained quite a bit of reputation. So I was actually wrong last time. I said the maximum we could have got, we still got last time. But you do get a position bonus for first place. So we gained 19,700 reputation points, which takes us up to 539,500. And credits, wow, we gained a lot this week. Because in the Moto3 race, both of our riders achieved objectives. So we get 80,000 alone from the Moto3 race, and then another 31,000 from our race, which gives us 112,506, which takes us up to 1,872,188 credits. And on the team prestige then, we gained 200 prestige. That is really, really good to gain some from the race. Hernandez gaining a little bit less prestige than I guess from only just getting in the top 15, but we still gain more than we normally gain. We only gain a very, very small amount. And we got the total research data, 125 research points then, so that's nice. So no notifications on my front, nothing on the Moto3 front. But we can have a look, see if anything can be developed. No, they're just missing a few research data for the frame, 13, and they're missing 300 for the engine, which is probably the thing to upgrade actually in Moto3, so maybe I'll just wait till they've got enough for the engine. But that's where I'll end off the episode there then, guys. Hope you have enjoyed that one. Obviously, again, a little bit of a race where I dropped down initially and had to come back through, but this time I just dropped back because I got a really poor start. I think it was because of the hard tyre. It doesn't get off the line well, so all the AI went zooming past me, obviously. Then Rins hit into the back of me. Had that weird thing, obviously, with Rins, so it was really unfortunate that my teammate was the rider that was with. Luckily, we stayed on board, though, kept a cool head, gained a few positions on the first few laps, and then I started to take a few more. Once I got up onto the podium, wasn't too much of a problem. Obviously, we still had about half the race left. Closed up to Vinales, passed him with little to no problems. Had a nice little battle with Marquez, to be fair, which is nice. We've not had one of those for a little while. So nice to see Marquez bouncing back a little bit. And hopefully Quartararo can take the momentum of finally getting a top 10 with the factory team and can try and start challenging us for victories again, because that's what I expected him to do this season, but he just really hasn't so far. But like I said, I hope you did enjoy that video then, guys. I hope you enjoyed the rest of your day. Hope you're all staying safe, and I shall see you in the next one.